So I did it because I wanted to improve the business. But actually, the NLP was a self-reflective process. So the NLP actually, I thought I was doing it because I wanted to understand how to manipulate people to have a successful business. That's why I did it. I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tool.
The process of learning NLP, I got NLP'd myself, so we had to partner up. So part of the training was to act as a coach. So it was master practitioner of NLP, but also the master NLP coach, and we had to pair up and we had to coach each other over the course of a weekend. And there was one moment in that coaching where my coach was digging so deep into my beliefs, what I thought were true, things that I thought were true but weren't true, limiting beliefs that I had about myself, decisions that I'd made in my life that I can't do this and I can't do that and it should be like this and it should be like that. She was digging so deep. I literally was curled up in a chair, rocking in a fetal position, because it was just, this is so deep. But she, working with me, coached me for me to really understand myself and to connect with myself. That voice, we have at the back of our head, that voice that's always going. And anyone that says, no, I haven't got that voice, that's the voice that said, I haven't got that voice. So we've all got that voice. Understanding that voice and what it means to me, what it's saying to me, really helped me. And I just finished my NLP coaching, and then my wife unexpectedly died. So she was 42, 43, and she was fit as well, as far as we know. She woke up one morning with a headache, and by 7 o'clock that evening, she'd gone. And
oh my goodness.
I'm so sorry. For me was, thank you. That for me was a shift in me, because I thought, you know what, I've just done all of this NLP coaching to understand myself and to coach someone through it. This is a test. I have to use this now. This stuff is no longer theory. This is now practical. Mm-hmm. I need to use this to get through this situation. And I think it's going through all of that has led me to a point now where I understand with the full horror of how it can be, how short this life, all those conversations that we had about what we were going to do when the kids had grown up, and the weird thing, how we were going to live our retirement, all of it fell apart that instant she died. And since then, obviously it took me a few years to work my way through it. So that was, it's 12 years ago now, 12 and a half years ago. It's taken me a good few years to come through it. But now I'm at a position of, do you know what? This is actually a really short life. And what is going to make this short life and this short time we've got on this planet, what is it that's going to make it really good? What is going to make it really good is understanding me, understanding what drives me, what my values are, and seeking them out in every aspect of my life. And that's what I do, through dance, the food that I eat, through to the wine that I drink. Yes, I'll drink wine from a supermarket, but I would much rather drink wine from someone I can have a conversation with. What's the story behind this wine? How did you come to make it like this? Why did you choose to make it this way? Why did you choose those grapes? To connect with everything I do. And this world is a beautiful world. It's a beautiful planet. I want to connect with different people in different parts of it, which is why I'm in Australia at the moment. And then I'll go back home. I'm in the heat at the moment, and I'll go back home to cold UK and have a really cold Christmas. But it's about connecting, and I want to connect with my clients from marketing, and I want to help my clients connect with their clients.
I love it. It's
just being true.
Yeah, the finite nature of life, it eludes us, right? Often. I think I wrote somewhere once, nature and death are the two things that bring context to human life. Are you a spiritual person, Mark? Would you consider that part of you?
What do you define as spiritual?
That you're kind of part of something bigger, or is it your life? And that's
there are so many different ways to define this. It's my life and that's it, but I recognize that it's my life and I'm part of something bigger. I'm part of a community, I'm part of a society, I'm part of and that world is all connected and striving to be connected, whether that be the plants, the animals, the people. We are all connected in some way. But no, I don't any belief of anything beyond what we see.
Yeah. No, it's the connection thing. It makes so much sense. I think as we move into this technological future where, it's going to be hard to tell if things are real just by virtue of us being online all the time. It's going to be very, very important for us to connect in a genuine way.
You've absolutely, I think what you're talking about is something really, really important for people to understand. And it's really deep into what it is for us to be human, what it is for us to connect. And I love AI. So I use AI
Same.
all day, every day in my life as a marketing agency. You have to be very careful how we use it. We have to understand, so for marketing, I have to understand core marketing and business principles to be able to apply the AI in the right way. Not just a case of, hey, ChatGPT, write me a Facebook advert. That's not going to work. It's got to be structured in the right way.
And for those that don't
created.
believe Mark, for the record, go try it yourself. Really, it's not as simple as
yeah. So I have clients come to me and say, hey, Mark, I've done Facebook adverts and they didn't work. Okay, that's fine. So how did you create the advert? Well, I put it into ChatGPT. Okay, well, the reason I've spent 4.5 years doing a master's in business, majoring in marketing, is to understand the psychology of how we connect with others and the words and the phrase and the sequence and the reasons and how to structure it. There's a way to structure things. Within that structure, I can use the AI to give me the basic words and give me some ideas. But we still need to know that structure of how to structure an advert. What you're saying about technology is, so AI is brilliant. I use AI a lot. And I use AI to, for example, if a patient makes a request via a Facebook form or a lead, a Google advert, or via the practice website, then I'll use AI to look at what they've said in that feedback and create a message via WhatsApp to that person immediately. So they can fill in a form online, they immediately get a personalized WhatsApp to them, created by AI about that practice. Do you want to book an appointment? That is wonderful for. Dentistry is healthcare. And dentistry, a lot of these patients are in pain. Most patients don't want to go to the dentist. They don't want to be there. They know a dentist is likely going to cause them a little bit of discomfort, sometimes pain. When they're at the dentist, they're going to be put in the most vulnerable position, lying on their back, so they feel vulnerable. The dentist is going to cover half of their face, so they can't read the facial expressions of a person. That person needs to trust that dentist. There needs to be some kind of connection to trust that human being that patient to put themselves in that vulnerable position. And too many practices, I think, are now using AI to answer the phone.
Okay.
To answer the phone to that patient that is scared, that is anxious, they don't trust, they don't want to be there, they're worried, and they get, hello, this is XYZ dental practice. And it's just like, no. Connect with that person as a human being. That if we know for sure, and we can filter prior to that all that patient is doing, they just phone and they just want to say, I want to book an appointment next Wednesday at 2 p.m. And that's all they want. That's all they want to do. AI can be great at doing that. It can be great at fulfilling that function. When we need to know when we need to connect with a human being and not rely on AI to try to make those connections for us. And I think practices are going to struggle if too many people go down this AI route for answering phones, when what's required is that person to feel empathy and connection with another human being, because they're impacted, because they're scared, because they're anxious.
No, I do agree with you in the sense that during business hours, using an AI is a bit silly. But I think in terms of an AI voice assistant, at least to book appointments. But I think in terms of if people are calling after hours and stuff, that becomes a little bit more practical. But I see what you're saying. And the whole philosophy of the front desk, even in the back office, it's almost like a restaurant. Right, you go in and the first people that you meet at the front are gonna be your impression of the restaurant, right? It's like, okay, are they kind? Are they professional? Are they timely? Right? Do they care about you? And then you sit there for a while and you wait for your appointment and you do your thing, and then in the back office you're expecting that same vibe, that same energy that you got in the beginning is carried through all the way through the procedure and through the actual appointments. Yeah. And through exit. So I couldn't agree with you more. I think schools are doing an abysmal job in teaching people the importance of connection when it comes to healthcare. I've talked to a lot of dentists, and they, on the whole, are missing some social skills for sure, or at least like a connection. I guess a need for connection. I think by virtue of us seeing millimeters all the time, we kind of lose the more macro lens of like karma or of energy.
Ask a patient, ask anybody, can you give me a recommendation for a dentist? You know, what's your recommendation for a dentist? And they'll say, oh yeah, you go to my dentist. Why? He's a nice person and they don't hurt me. That's it.
Simple.
That's it. And the don't hurt me bit is very subjective, you know, and sometimes there's going to be a bit of discomfort depending on the procedure and what you're doing. That's possible, but they're a nice person. So that's the judge. That's what patients use as a judge. So that human connection,
Literally.
and to be able to get someone that's anxious when they're in the waiting area to being relaxed by the time they get to sit in the chair, I think is a skill that can be taught, and this is where NLP comes into it. It can be used a lot to help patients relax very quickly, to feel at ease, and to have that and to make that connection. Yeah.
Mark, are you when you meet strangers just out and about in life, is there, over time, have you grown less or more judgmental, or is your perception of people more or less accurate? There was a gentleman when I was in dental school, fairly wise guy that I talked to, and he says, you know, the older I get, the less I understand human beings. What do you think about that?
The older I get, the less I understand. I'd agree with that. I would say, so you asked about being judgmental. I'm quite judgmental. I'll be brutally honest. I do tend to do. So I'm not any less or more judgmental, but the massive thing that I do now is when I meet someone and I naturally judge them, now what I do is flip it back on myself. So I'll judge them and say, oh, they just said this a horrible thing, or that was a mean thing, or why didn't they respond like that? I can flip it back on myself and say, okay, Mark, how am I able to notice that they did that if I don't do it myself? I must do that myself, because that's how I can recognize it. So this concept of all perception is projection. If I perceive something in someone else, it's because I'm projecting my own behaviors onto them. So if I notice someone being unkind in a given situation, I know that they're being unkind. I know what unkindness looks like in that situation because I do it myself. So I do still judge, but I flip it back on me and go, how am I able to notice that? That's interesting. What can I learn? What can I learn? Can I learn to not judge that situation? Can I learn to say, well, actually, this person did it because I don't know what's going on for them in their life. There may be reasons why they acted that way. How can I change myself so that I don't do that thing that I've just noticed that I find really horrible? So I use it as a learning experience. So I take that judgment and learn from it. That's what I do differently now. All perception is projection.
So there's this feedback loop of metacognition that you've essentially established in yourself to make sure you stay humble and accurate. Yeah. Ideally, right? Yeah. In terms of...
So, go on.
No, please continue.
So an example of that is I still go to, occasionally, not very often now, but grief support group, because again, it's connecting with people in similar situations. And I went to one a few months ago, and it was older people, so considerably older, in their 80s, and their partners had died, and of course they were grieving the loss of their husband, their wife, their partner. And my first thought was, what are you guys complaining about? You know, you've lived a full natural life. You've been married for 60 years. You've lived your whole life with that person. Of course they're going to die at some point. What are you complaining about? I only had 22 years married with my absolute soulmate, and I've been robbed of the whole of the rest of my with her. It's much worse for me. What a judgmental thing to think. But I found myself thinking it. But for them to me, for me to be able to stop and reflect it and reflect inwardly and say, there's no such thing as I feel worse than you, your grief is worse than mine, your pain is worse than mine. It's all subjective, and we all feel it in our own way, and we all feel all of these emotions in our own way. And the greatest gift we can give someone is to be empathetic and meet them where they are. If that person is in pain, they're in pain. The fact that I wouldn't be in pain if I was in their situation is irrelevant. That's completely irrelevant. If they are in pain, if they are in need, meet that person where they are And that's what I learned from that experience of going to that group is if this poor old lady is in pain, she's in pain. That's it. Meet her where she is.
Plain and simple.
That's it. Doesn't matter what, doesn't matter how it compares to me. If she's in pain, she's in pain.
Yep, and it's I could talk about dentistry all day, but the way that you're talking about connection makes me want to take this podcast in a slightly different direction. And the question that I wanted to ask you specifically is, have you had conversations with people where your ego almost completely departs and then you feel this tingle in your body, and you're assuming also that this other person is feeling that too? Have you had that happen in your life?
How do you define ego?
It's kind of have you read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? Yeah. So he talks about this concept of peace, right? That we can essentially find it by getting away from our thoughts. That there's this other universe out there that it's easy to get into, it's hard to stay in. And there's been times where I've had conversations with people, and I also prioritize quite a bit of my time on trying to inspire and at least cause some sort of thought. But there's been a couple times in my life where I've genuinely felt like a physical sensation by virtue of that connection. And you being someone that literally your purpose in everything that you do is that sense of connection. I'm wondering if that's a type of high that you've had, and whether or not that's a universal human capacity.
I don't think I would describe it like that specifically, but I do feel very often, and I think we may be describing the same thing but have different words for it. I do feel very often that I look out there in the world and I see the world and I see people being busy, and I'm doing my marketing with clients and I'm helping new patients find dentists, and the patients are happy because they found a dentist, the dentists are happy because they've got a new patient, and everything's happy. And then I finish work for the day and I go cook my dinner and eat my dinner, and the world goes on and the world turns. There's that layer, there's that level, and I do find that there's very often a level behind that, which is I think what I'm talking about now. There's kind of like the physical workings of everything, and then there is a deeper level to this world and this life that I think true happiness resides in, and that may be what we may be describing a similar thing, that there's almost a disconnection from the world that we see, when as soon as we realize that there is no reality, there's no such thing as real, because we all create our own reality in our heads. We run everything that we see through filters, we delete, we distort, we generalize, we run it through our belief system, our values, things that happened to us in our past. Everything gets it. So we
run it through our senses, right? Like we can only perceive a certain visual frequency, for instance, or a certain auditory frequency.
Miller in 1971 or 1977 did research, and it was 7 bits of information at any given point. So more than that, we have to delete. We can't, I've got the air conditioning running in the background. I can't listen to it. If I listened to that the whole time, I couldn't focus on you. I've got cars driving around in a window outside me. If I focus, I can't. We have to delete irrelevant information, and we all delete different bits of information. So we create this world. We think it's true. We think it's real. We all think, yes, I've got a grip on reality, but none of us have got a grip on reality. I think so many people, and the default is to trundle through life thinking that this is life, this is real, this is what the world is. And I do that as well, because that's the default state, that's the general running state. But then when I actually stop and have conversations like this, I realize actually there's a whole deeper level to this world and this life. And for me, that deeper connection is about understanding me, and is about connecting with people, and is about living to my core true values, which actually I think is right for everyone, but most people never reach that level. And the power of now is so true. There is only this fleeting moment. That's all there is. And stress in life comes when we compare this moment to the past and what we had and how it's different, or to the future and what we think we should have. That's where tension arises. But if we forget about what happened in the past, and we forget about the future, and we don't compare, and we just live in this exquisite moment of right this second of now. That's where I think we break through this veneer of the world around us and get to a deeper level. And that may be what you're explaining, but using different words.
Yeah, I think that physical sensation is that I'm referring to is I guess the consciousness in that area, the human consciousness or whatever, living in the now. I think there's a
I do think
we can get it
right.
Yeah.
That we get physical manifestations of these things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Very definitely, these feelings can physically manifest, and we can feel it, like feel it. Sometimes it's in our head, sometimes in our stomach, and we even talk about things like in life, don't we? If I go, oh, I'm sick to my stomach with that, and it's like we're actually taking an emotion and putting it in our stomach. We do that all the time, so we do get these physical manifestations for sure. Yeah,
from emotion. Yeah, it's it's one of those things that you talking about connection. I mean, I believe it's a necessary cure for humanity. I think humanity is getting to the point where it's going to create. I feel like electricity is kind of life in itself. There's some strange things that happen when you look at the granular level at physics. But just like virtue of, for instance, observing a particle makes it act differently than not observing it.
Yeah, the double slit
like
experiment.
And that's like the bare basics of like how particles work, which is insane. But we just but to your point of experiencing reality and believing that's the reality. I really do believe that the more we aim, what is the word? What you aim at determines what you see. And as a species, I think if we aim more at this connection, that we'll see more ways of forming it, and we'll see. For instance, you said about dancing. I mean, I play music, right? And I love playing music. And when I first got into playing music, almost literally the first time that I got on an instrument, the drum kit, I was jamming with people, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how to hit a snare or to use the kick pedal or anything, right? But there was this sense of I'm playing with someone, that it's not about what I'm hitting necessarily. It's about being an accompaniment. It's about building something together. And that's always made music so powerful, because you can hear it in music. You can hear it in different songs, that when the musicians are building alongside one another versus not. Right, and you can feel that even on stage.
It's a live band jamming. Just an incredible experience to watch, and obviously listen, but to watch the interactions. One musician is playing, and all the other musicians are looking. They're looking for the cue of when they've finished, and there's that nod, there's the look of, okay, I'm coming to the end, you go, you take it, and then another musician will take it. And it's incredible. It's fascinating. I don't play an instrument, obviously I dance, but those same relationships that are being formed and made and created on the fly is incredible to be part of.
Absolutely. Let's take a tangent here, and I won't keep you for too much longer. I know it's early for you. It's actually 7:30 p.m. for me Eastern time. I'm in Ohio in the United States.
Okay.
As far as you said, you're 57 years old. I'm 29, right? And I lost my father when I was 9 years old, and so I spent a lot of time in my life learning from older men. Specifically, I specifically went and saw out conversations much like this, and ask a lot of questions and listen for a while. And so time is this concept too, that connection and time are correlated in some way, right? There's this, when you find a great friend, for instance, right, you initially there's this intuitive connection, but then you build it over years, and then you build it over decades, and then there's this evolution of both of these individuals and this intertwining relationship. For instance, your marriage, right? As you're getting older, how are your relationships changing with those close friends, with those people that you had that initial spark with?
I think they're becoming, bearing in mind, typically we meet people sort of when we're younger and we age together, so we're both getting older at the same time. I saw this as a joke a few years ago, but it's true, is when you're younger, or let's rephrase that, when one is younger, one tends to want to look good because we're worried about what other people think of us, and we're thinking, what does that person think of me, and are they judging me, or what do they think about me? And actually, as I've got older, I don't really care what other people think of me anymore. I don't really care what other people think of me. If I want to do something because it resonates with me, then I do it. And I've got my moral compass, so I make sure I'm doing the right thing. And part of that is honesty. So there may have been relationships I've had with friends where in the past they might have done something I felt upset about. Notice I didn't say they upset me. It's impossible to upset anyone. I want to own it. If I'm upset, I have the one that's become upset. They haven't offended me. I am offended. It's my choice. I must own my own actions. But if they said something which I am upset, I am offended. In the past, I would have just, carried on with life, and perhaps they might have done it over and over and over, and the friendship would have stopped. But now, I don't really care what other people think about me anymore. They feel the same, and they'll go, what you just said there, do you realise that could have been a really offensive thing to say? Or I will say to them, hey, what you just said there, I feel really hurt and upset by that. And they'll be, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it like that. So not caring so much about what other people think actually, I think, leads to a deeper relationship, because we don't carry things with us anymore. We just if I say something, you tell me. And if you say something, I'm going to tell you, because I don't care anymore what other people think about me. And it is actually, and I still find it difficult to do. I would still much rather gloss over it and have a happy relationship with these people. But just being more honest. And I do think a lot of that comes with age, where it's just like, I just don't care anymore. I spent the whole of my life caring about what other people think. Life is too short to do that now. If someone upsets me, I'm just going to tell them. And it happens in business as well. If a client does something or it doesn't resonate, I'm going to say, do you know what? This is not working. You've not paid your bill. You need to pay your bill. You've done this. That's not acceptable. That's not how it works in my life. I'm not putting up with, and it makes for a happier life for me. It makes for a happier life for them. And if that relationship, if we decide to go our own ways because it doesn't work, we're honest and open about it. And we make better friends with the people that we are friendly with, because we can sit down with each other and say, last Wednesday when you said XYZ, I feel really hurt by that. Can we talk about it? Yes, please. That would be good. Let's do that. And I think that's a big way my relationships have changed.
So would you say you have more of those conversations where it's like, this is how it actually made me feel? Yeah.
Not this is how it made me feel, because this is how it made me feel is saying that the other person made me feel a certain way. When you said that, I felt this. Not you made me feel it, because that's putting the blame on them. They didn't make me feel anything. They said something, and I chose to feel that way. I own it. No one makes me feel anything. No one makes me offended. No one makes me feel sad. No one makes me feel happy. I own it. I make myself feel happy and sad. But what I can do is say to people, when you said that, I felt upset. I felt, can we talk about it? But I always want to own my own emotions. No one makes me feel anything.
It's a brilliant lesson, and thank you for that. I will utilize that in my life as much as I can. It's a novel switch, but it's so important, right? It gives people the leeway they really deserve, and and there's obviously some people that are just very aggressive and offensive, and you probably don't want to be around them. But at the end of the day, it's your choice, right? It's
about
your choice
intent as well. So if I'm with that person and they are intending to be offensive, that's very different to a person having a conversation and saying something which I choose to feel offended by. That's different. So if someone is out and out going around trying to find my buttons and press them to be offensive, completely. But if I feel offended by something, do you know Ricky Gervais? So Ricky Gervais, comedian, is brilliant. And he says, anything that I say, you have the right to be offended, but just because you're offended doesn't mean that you're right. It's your choice to, he says, it's your choice to be offended at my jokes. You can be offended if you want, but it's your choice to be offended. Own it.
There's been no truer words. Mark, first of all, how do I say your last name?
Oborn.
Oborn. Okay. Easy peasy. Mark Oborn. Thank you, sir, for spending the time with me this morning. It's an absolute pleasure to connect with someone that's living an authentic connection-based life, regardless of, and obviously I'm a dentist, I'll reach out to you, but anyone that's watching this podcast that is a dentist, please reach out to Mark. He is an expert marketer, and he will help you get the patients that you're looking for, and hopefully make them feel the way that you want them to feel. I love digging into the nuances of the human condition. I think regardless of what scale you're looking at, if you're looking for money, if you're looking for satisfaction, it's the common denominator. And so thank you for your wisdom today. And I wanted to ask you if there's anything else that you would say to a developing young leader, someone in college, high school, maybe just out of school, any advice that you'd give to them?
Be your authentic self. Understand your authentic self. Spend time, possibly with a coach, with friends, to understand who you are and be your authentic self and live your authentic self. That's the way to happiness.
Mark Oborn, thank you, sir.